Imagine this. You're walking through the crumbling halls of an old school that's been locked up for decades, dust swirling in the air like forgotten memories. Suddenly, from behind a closed classroom door, you hear the faint murmur of children's voices reciting lessons, clear as day. But no one's been in there since the 1980s. What if those voices aren't just echoes? What if they're calling out for help, or something worse? Stick around, because this story of two friends who dared to explore the abandoned Willow Creek Elementary will leave you questioning every shadow in your own home. It all started on a crisp autumn afternoon in a small town in upstate New York. Jake and his best friend, Mike, were the kind of guys who lived for adventure. They'd grown up hearing stories about Willow Creek Elementary, the school that shut down back in 1985 after a tragic fire claimed the lives of a few students and a teacher. No one really talked about the details anymore. It was one of those local legends that folks whispered about around campfires. The building had been boarded up ever since, overgrown with vines and weeds, a relic of the past that the town council kept meaning to demolish but never got around to. Jake was the impulsive one, always dragging Mike into his wild ideas. He was a software engineer by day, but on weekends he fancied himself an urban explorer. Mike, on the other hand, was more cautious, a history buff who worked at the local library and loved digging into old archives. They'd been friends since high school, bonded over video games and late-night talks about the unknown. One Saturday, Jake showed up at Mike's door with a backpack full of flashlights, energy bars, and a GoPro camera strapped to his chest. "Come on, man," Jake said, grinning ear to ear. "We've talked about this forever. Willow Creek's just sitting there, waiting for us. Think of the footage we could get for my channel." Mike hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't know, Jake. Trespassing's illegal, and those old places can be dangerous. Collapsing floors, asbestos, you name it." But Jake's enthusiasm was infectious. "We'll be careful. In and out in an hour. What could go wrong?" Against his better judgment, Mike agreed. They drove out to the edge of town where the school loomed like a forgotten giant, its red brick walls cracked and faded, windows shattered or covered in plywood. The chain-link fence around the property was rusted and sagging in places, easy enough to slip through. As they approached, the air grew cooler and a faint breeze rustled the leaves, carrying the scent of damp earth and decay. They pried open a side door with a crowbar Jake had brought, just enough to squeeze inside. The hallway stretched out before them, dimly lit by shafts of sunlight piercing through gaps in the boards. Dust motes danced in the beams, and their footsteps echoed unnaturally loud on the tiled floor, cracked and littered with debris. "Creepy as hell," Mike whispered, shining his flashlight around. Lockers stood like silent sentinels, some doors hanging open, revealing faded posters and forgotten notebooks. Jake laughed it off. "This is gold! Subscribers are going to love this!" He started narrating for the camera. "Welcome to Willow Creek Elementary, abandoned since the fire of '85. Legend has it, the spirits of those lost kids still roam these halls." They wandered deeper, exploring the gymnasium first. The basketball hoops were rusted, the wooden floor warped from years of water damage. Mike found an old trophy case, glass shattered, awards from spelling bees and science fairs scattered inside. As they moved to the classrooms, that's when things got weird. They approached room 104, the door slightly ajar. Jake pushed it open, and they stepped inside. Desks were still arranged in neat rows, chalkboards covered in faint, smudged writing. It looked like time had frozen mid-lesson. "Man, this place gives me the chills," Mike said, his voice echoing softly. Jake was about to respond when they both froze. From somewhere down the hall, a soft sound drifted toward them, like whispering. No, not whispering. Chanting. Children's voices reciting something rhythmic, like a multiplication table or a poem. "Did you hear that?" Mike asked, his eyes wide. Jake nodded slowly. "Yeah, sounds like kids reading aloud, but that's impossible. This place has been empty for years." They exchanged glances, hearts pounding. Curiosity won over fear, and they followed the sound. It grew louder as they approached room 112. The door closed, but not locked. Jake reached for the handle, turning it slowly. The door creaked open, revealing more desks, an old globe in the corner, and posters of the solar system peeling from the walls. The voices were clearer now. A is for apple, B is for ball. It was a simple alphabet chant, the kind kindergartners learn. But there was no one there. The room was empty, dust undisturbed on the floor. "What the?" Jake muttered, stepping inside. The voices seemed to come from the air itself, surrounding them. Mike pulled out his phone, trying to record it. This has to be some kind of echo or wind trick, maybe pipes or something. But as they listened, the chant shifted. It wasn't just letters anymore. It morphed into names, soft, pleading calls. "Emily, Tommy, where are you?" Jake's face paled. Those were the names of the kids who died in the fire. I read about it online. The voices faded, leaving an eerie silence. They decided to keep going, telling themselves it was their imaginations playing tricks. But deeper in the school, in the library, they found books strewn across the floor, pages fluttering as if an invisible hand was turning them. And then the whispers returned, this time from the basement stairs. Against all reason, they descended. The basement was darker, the air thicker with mold. Flashlights cut through the gloom, revealing old boilers and storage rooms. In one corner, they found a charred section of wall, remnants of the fire that had doomed the school. That's when the voices swelled again, louder, more insistent. "Help us! The fire! It's coming back!" Mike grabbed Jake's arm. "We need to get out of here, now." But as they turned to leave, the door at the top of the stairs slammed shut with a bang that echoed like thunder. Panic set in. They rushed up, pounding on it, but it wouldn't budge. The temperature dropped, their breaths visible in the air. The children's voices surrounded them, not chanting now, but laughing, soft, innocent giggles that turned into sobs. Jake fumbled with his crowbar, prying at the door while Mike shone the light. Come on," Jake urged. In the midst of the chaos, Mike spotted something on the wall, a faded plaque. It read, "In memory of the Willow Creek fire victims, may their lessons live on." Below it, scratched into the paint, were words that looked fresh. "Listen to us." The voices grew frantic, recounting the fire. "The bell didn't ring. Smoke everywhere. Teacher tried to save us." Jake finally wedged the door open, and they burst out, scrambling through the halls toward the exit. As they ran, shadows seemed to dance in the corners of their eyes, small figures darting just out of sight. They didn't stop until they were outside, gasping for air in the fading daylight. Back home, they reviewed the footage. The voices were there, captured clear as day on the GoPro. But more chillingly, in the background of one shot, faint outlines of children appeared in the classroom mirrors, smiling, waving. They never went back to Willow Creek. The town finally demolished it a year later, but Jake and Mike couldn't shake the feeling that those kids were trying to tell them something. Maybe it was a warning, or perhaps just a plea to be remembered. The lesson here? Sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. It whispers until someone listens. Respect history and think twice before disturbing places with unfinished stories. If this tale sent shivers down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories from abandoned places across America. Drop a comment below. What's the creepiest place you've ever explored? Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Who knows what shadows we'll uncover next? Thanks for watching.